We're joined right now on RealAgriculture.com by John DePape. He is the CWB monitor. Welcome today, John.
Thank you.
John, last Friday, the story broke. Vitera had admitted that there was an interested party in possibly in some sort of takeover buyout. And I guess the industry's been kind of throwing a lot of names around. It looks like we've kind of settled on Glencore as the interested party, which is a Swiss-based company. What was your impression of the news last week?
Well, it's really a rumor more than news. Vitera has not come out to say anything really other than there is a third party that's interested. So we don't know if it's Glencore, but I think most thoughts are pointing that way. I wasn't surprised. I've heard that they're interested in moving more into agriculture. They're big in minerals, zinc and copper, that kind of thing. And they've expressed an interest in getting more into agriculture. They handle about 9% of the global trade in agricultural products, so it just seems to be a good fit for them. So I wasn't really surprised at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, I think most people or a lot of people are kind of following sort of the Canadian grain trade story as the single desk leaves us and the open market comes to fruition in August 1st. I think we all said that Vitera was the one that was positioned, maybe it was in a very good spot strategically. It would make sense they'd be a takeover target.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if other companies were approached as well. But if you're going to buy into a market and you want a footprint, why would you not look at someone that has a dominant position or a large position and leverage that? So they are the main candidate in my eyes.
A lot of course, a lot of speculation into people referring back to the potash situation where Premier Brad Wall of Saskatchewan, they of course made it very well known that they were not in favor of potash being sold. Do you think there's a lot being written this morning about the federal government maybe stepping in on the Vitera deal as well? Do you foresee that happening? Is there any chance of that?
Well, I won't say whether there's a chance of it or not. I don't know politics as well as others, but I don't see a connection. I don't see a similarity. Potash was considered, or Potash Corp is largest potash manufacturer in the world. It's a natural resource. There's royalties paid to the government. They do have a marketing group, cartel. BHP was talking about possibly stepping outside that. There were some repercussions that you're just not going to see with Vitera, a sale of Vitera at all. I just don't see the similarity at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. Potash was about a natural resource that was in the ground, right? And so some took it as we're basically selling Saskatchewan because Potash Corp is the one that has access to the minerals. In this case, it's a grain handler.
Exactly.
That's not necessarily a national strategic priority.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think unfolds here? You'd sort of mentioned that possibly some other companies may be coming to into the fold here. Is that what you would expect? We're going to maybe possibly, now that it might be for sale, it's actually for sale?
Well, I don't think that it's not for sale. I think that they may have. I'm guessing. I would think that Vitera would have said, yes, we're being pursued or by a third party, but we're not interested. I think they would have made comments like that. But it seems to me that they're open to negotiation. So will there be others bidding for it? I don't know. I really don't know.
There was information on Sunday that Glencore's. There was a number circulating, and a couple of media outlets had reported, $5.5 billion. That's enough to get anybody's attention.
Well, and that's the number I've heard too. And what that says is that there's only a few companies out there that have the wherewithal to step into that game, and so the list of possible suitors is pretty short.
So, John, you've got some insight or some experience with the Competition Bureau. How does the Competition Bureau look at deals like this?
You're right. I used to work for the Competition Bureau on their grain files like Agricor United, and even BC Rail, those issues on grain. And what they would do is look at market concentration. And so if Glencore were to buy Vitera, I don't think that the Competition Bureau would be interested in any way, shape, or form. But if Vitera were to buy or want to buy a Canadian company, another grain company, I'm sure that the Competition Bureau would put the brakes on that. So they look at market concentration. And when I was in those mergers, they were quite surprised at how concentrated the grain industry was to begin with. And that's, the legacy of the pools. Being a cooperative, I guess they may have had different views on market share when it came to a cooperative. But, excuse me. But once it went private, all of a sudden those market share numbers were substantially larger than what they like to see. So foreign ownership, I don't bid that. They're not going to look at that. But domestic, yes, they would.
Yeah, and that's why it makes sense that a player like a Glencore or ADM, who's not currently really here, they would make much more sense in a deal like this as opposed to people throwing Cargill around and Richardson or something like that.
Well, yeah, you mentioned Cargill. That's right. That's one rumor that I just can't see Cargill interested in buying Vitera. You're taking two of the largest companies out there and making one. I think Cargill is well aware that the Competition Bureau would not allow that at all. Think about it when Saskatchewan Wheat Pool basically headed up the dismantling of Agricor United. They went to other parties like Cargill and Richardson's first to say, look, we know we can't buy all of this. The Competition Bureau is going to say you can't. So let's carve it up. Do you want some of this? And I think they did a lot of that before they went to the Competition Bureau, and put it on the table and said, here's how we're going to split up Agricor United, and therefore nobody gets a huge portion of the pie. And I think that's the way the Competition Bureau went with it.
Okay, John, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thanks, Sean.